fantastic as something that Paul and I could come and learn from and contribute to. We've been working pretty much exclusively in video, and I think that's what we bring to DMAC is our commitment to video publishing.
For me, these types of programs, visiting scholar programs, are really some of the best of what universities can offer, and that is bringing in people with outside expertise, but also allowing outside people to come in and learn from what you're doing and see what you're doing locally, your university, what types of programming you're offering, and just, for me at least, I've just been utterly revitalized by the experience. We're doing things at our university, and I think you get sort of so focused on what you're doing locally that you're unaware of what's going on at what other departments are doing, what other universities are doing. And this has been just a great opportunity for us to come here and see just the fantastic resources that you have, facilities, and ideas that we can bring back with us to Rutgers.
Yeah, I'd underscore the incredible value for both of us of being able to travel to this location, because working in this area, you can say, well, I'm doing research and I'll read this article and that article and I'll find out what people are doing, and that helps you get some sense of what people are thinking about. But it doesn't actually give you a concrete sense of how they're making this possible. And with digital media, that question is as important as what they're thinking about. So we've come here and we've just been astonished at the resources that are here. This room is an example, but it seems like every day we open another door in the palace and discover yet another room full of treasures. And that's something we're going to be able to take back that's concrete. We're going to take photographs back and pictures of how you guys have built these spaces.
These online applications, these mashups that we're seeing, that's new. We're slowly defining what they are. I'm not even sure that that's really necessary, but we can't say that they're not new. So it's multimedia in the sense that we know multimedia, which is video and audio and text. But there are these combinations now that we're seeing that the digital technology is allowing and creating, the ways of mashing up information that, when I see them, it's altering, right? You look at it and you're like, oh my God, that's new.
We've actually made a video about this because we put together a video that talked about our vision for the Center for the New Humanities. It was a presentation I made to the Board of Governors, and we were both amazed by the reception of this video, and we turned around and then made a movie about the reception of it. And what's been interesting about the reception of the movie, that's about the reception, if you will, is it's a description of what's new about new media. That's actually the arc of the whole argument. And there's a tension that we now, I think, realize, and we talked about this at the time, that the storyboarding of the reception was a solitary scholar. It begins with a solitary scholar is thinking about this thing, and he makes a presentation. And I kept saying, but it's not a solitary scholar, it's us, and it's the team, right? We're all, but we had this interesting clash with the generic expectation that the story is of the heroic individual, blah, 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 right? And so actually the story that we ended up telling was in conflict with the very thing that we think new media is doing, which is making available a kind of collaboration in this multiplying effect that hasn't, I do think is genuinely unprecedented. And one way that you can mark its unprecedentedness is we don't actually have a generic story for it. How do you tell the story of a nameless, anonymous, collaborative organization and its movement? We tell stories about individuals, not about ideas moving across time. And that's actually what's happening, I would say. And is that new? It seems to me it's extremely important for both of us to emphasize the newness. We've experienced close at hand efforts to domesticate these developments and contain them and argue for the fact that there's a precedent. One can see a precedent for this, that, or the other. I find those arguments unconvincing, and I don't see them leading towards the production of spaces like this or the building of new ideas and opportunities at the university. If they did, I'd say, well, great, let's follow those ideas out. But what I see through the use of or emphasis on different terms is more of a recursion to familiar ways of acting and being.
For me, collaboration allows you to do work that you would not have been able to do on your own, and it allows you to not only see things but to realize projects that are much bigger than you could have done on your own. And working with Richard has been, for me, it's been a transformative experience because he's just opened my way of thinking about the university and what the university can do, and it's that that experience alone, rethinking what the university can do, and then working to enact that, right, to practice it. It's it's just it's frankly given me just such purpose in my work. So it's been fabulously rewarding for me to work together. And now and I think that the moment that we're living through right now is a time where it's impossible to know everything, and of course it always was, but now it's truly evident. And so working with people who just bring different strengths and again allow you to do things that you couldn't have realized by yourself, and so that you're part of much bigger projects. That's for me is rewarding. I've always been someone who enjoyed the process of creating something, and this allows you to simply create something that's bigger than you could have created on your own.
Yeah, I would say this has been the most transformative learning experience of not only of my career but of my life. I've been in a very successful collaboration prior to working with Paul, and that's with Kurt Spellmeyer. Kurt and I have been working together for 15 years. We've done a textbook together. And that was a collaboration that was formed around print and also formed around a fairly stable project. It's a project called the New Humanities, but defined in text and understood as being worked out in the first year classroom. And that, in a very real sense, provided the intellectual, philosophical foundation for the work that Paul and I have been doing. But the nature of this collaboration, I would say, is different, largely due to the fact that it was realized through new media. I still remember vividly right before I went on sabbatical, and I'd asked Paul to do a little work for me, which is a running joke now. And right before I left, Paul said, "Well, you got to get this .mac account, and then if you do this, we could video conference while you're in Paris." And I was packing like crazy to get ready to go overseas for a year, and Paul, rings me up online. We live in the same town. He lives about 6 blocks away, and suddenly there's Paul, and we were talking to each other, and then this collaboration, the fundamental breakthrough in our collaboration, which has allowed us to realize what Paul has talked about, which it's not simply that he builds something bigger than himself and I build something bigger than myself. It's actually that together the result is something that's bigger than both of us. This idea, which isn't our idea. It's the idea of our age. It's being realized in campuses across the country. That's why we walk in here and we go, wow, this is exactly like what we've been thinking of. So it's the idea of our age, and the idea of our age is fundamentally about networking human understanding. It's about collaboration. And so one of our projects now is, how do you teach people to collaborate? How do you create environments where this genuine experience of the multiplication of human insight and understanding can be realized?
We're currently planning something, we have conceptual drawings already, and renderings of a space that is almost exactly like this. So it allows us to come and see a facility like this that's up and running. So what we're trying to do, the Writers House initiative, is really the first phase of a larger, the way that we imagine it, a humanities-wide initiative. And so for us to come and see what a facility like this, that is a humanities-wide initiative, helps us to imagine how we can take what we're seeing here and what you guys are doing and map that onto what we're doing locally at Rutgers.
Another way to answer the question, what do we do back at Rutgers, is I think this collaboration has been so successful and so productive because the first thing we do is dream. And in so doing, I would say we've reclaimed the fundamental mission of higher education, that it's a place where you need to think about a better world and then try and create that. So we have been just paying attention, which of course is the title of Cindy's, groundbreaking book. Paying attention, looking at how the ways in which students are interacting with text and media and meaning has changed fundamentally over the past 10 years. So what do? I'm chair of the department. Before I was chair of the department, I was associate director of the writing program for 6 years. So I know a lot about entry level, bringing all the students into the university. But now as chair, I have a more of an understanding of a faculty-centric perspective. But also with Paul's assistance as director of digital initiatives, we've been in a position to just sort of think about better places for students to learn and think. And then with a little bit of luck, we got a gift that arrived at the right time. We spent last year building Writers House, and now we see that as the first phase of a 3-phase project. So we've got Writers House built. It's 3 seminar rooms and a high-tech space. Now there's going to be an intermediate space. We're looking at a 3-story addition to the building we're in. And then, as you can see on our video, we're imagining a a $180 million complex called the Center for the New Humanities, where creativity is at the center. You got to have a team. I mean, that's the number one rule. It can't be a single person who wants to do it. And the team has to bring to the team different but overlapping skill sets. I'm structurally positioned to be the face and the voice of fundraising. But if I turn around and I don't then put together high quality events that are impressive, it doesn't matter. I'm just talking out of my hat, right? And so we've got an extraordinary member of our team, Rick Lee, who specializes in alumni relations and fundraising. And Rick has as we say all the time, he's a social genius. He has a sense of how you put together events that say what we're doing is important and we value you for being here. And that's very different from saying we've asked you to be here to give us some money, right? We want the people who come to experience what we're talking about, and that is that universities are supposed to provide through the humanities the enrichment of the quality of your life. That's what they're supposed to do. And so if you've got that, I would say, then you just keep doing that, and eventually something's going to break your way, because you're doing that all the time. It's not we could do this if we had X, Y, or Z. You're doing it all the time, so that then when you get any additional support or anybody buys in, then suddenly there's an exponential increase in whatever it is you're doing. So we started with writers at Rutgers 5 years ago. And it was a typical reader series. It had devolved into a typical reader series, which is, you know, lesser known poets and creative writers who could not draw a crowd. They were friends of people in the department and were invited out of a sense of support and so forth. And we just said, you know, you got to run the equation a different way. We are here to enrich the quality of life for the people at the university. So let's start launching a series where the writers bring something powerful to the university. And initially we didn't have much of a budget to work with, right? So you can't say we're going to bring in, pick any, you know, Nobel Prize winning writer. We don't have the money. So, but we just slowly started to invite better people, do better publicity, do a lot more preliminary work, so that when there was an event, you'd look around and you'd see people, right? There are people, and there are people here. We would intentionally invite people from the sciences and the social sciences, administrators, and so say, look, what we do is improve the quality of life here. That's what we do. And 4 years later, our budget has quadrupled, okay, without asking, right? It's simply to say, you know, we could do more if we had a little bit more to work with. And people say, well, why? You guys know how to spend money. And that's really the key to success, is everybody knows how to waste money. Everybody knows how to contract out and get a terrible job done. But what we're committed to, and Paul is really excellent at this because of his understanding of space and design and working with people who build places, having people on site who can ensure that you're always getting the best you can out of every opportunity.
I think for me, and this was at the very front edge of our working together before we really started collaborating at this level. There were two things that I saw in Richard and the work that he was doing that really attracted me, that really essentially grabbed me. And the two things were making the work of the humanities visible, and selling the humanities, which for almost everybody who works in the humanities is a crass notion. But he had this way of explaining selling the humanities as something that is fundamentally positive, and that for me was extremely attractive, because he was able to articulate that the humanities should be able to explain what it does, why it's relevant, like all other disciplines, like any business, right? You need to be able to, and that's really going to upset people, but like all disciplines, you really need you should be able to articulate what it is you do and why it's relevant. And we have the distinct advantage of actually believing that what we do is relevant and that it has value. So then it's just a matter of showing that, right? Of presenting that and making the work of the humanities visible. And that's really what new media, one of the many things I think that new media is allowing, is that very thing. So you don't have to explain in the abstract in terms that tend to devolve into non-meaning, but you can explain in the concrete, this is what we're talking about and this is why it matters. You know, that is unprecedented, I think, and that's where people see, we all see this hand-wringing about the decline of the humanities. I think it's the exact opposite. If we can embrace the idea that this is a time of fundamental opportunity, of real opportunity, then the humanities, there is no limit, and there certainly isn't a decline.
I'm Richard Miller, Chair of the English Department at Rutgers University and visiting scholar